floor is yours.
Thank you, Eoghan, and thank you for inviting us here today. I'm chair of the Dublin Broadcasting branch of the NUJ. This is a voluntary role that I undertake as an RTE employee. I'm accompanied by Seamus Dooley, Irish Secretary. The voice of staff has been missing from discourse in this chamber, so we're grateful for this opportunity to express the anger and frustration of NUJ members in RTE and also their views as to the future. It's not possible to address the issues before you in isolation from the climate under which RTE has been forced to operate under for a long number of years and continues to operate under. RTE has been starved of necessary funding for decades by successive governments. When we, the staff, spoke out over the summer, it was in direct response to the immediate crisis, but the real wellspring was the deep frustration and powerlessness we have felt for years as a result of this severe underfunding. For years, we have struggled as best we could, striving to deliver quality output for the public as budgets were slashed. Away from any media glare, we in the NUJ have fought around issues such as gender equality and against excessive salaries and perks at the top. We called in 2019 for a cap on salaries. We also called for the abolition of things like the €25,000 executive car allowance, and also years before that we called for a review of employment contracts and contracts for service in RTE. We look forward to publication of the 2 expert reports. They're already overdue, but we're very concerned at the insistence that funding decisions are being delayed while RTE continues to teeter on the brink of disaster. The licence fee model is no longer fit for purpose. We all know that. Public service media in this country urgently needs to be supported by a new funding model that is sustainable but also equitable for the paying public. The level of funding needs to be adequate. Most government and opposition politicians have, over the summer months and since then, expressed their strong support for public service broadcasting, but without adequate funding, those words are hollow. In relation to future plans for the organisation, as outlined in the New Direction Strategic Vision document, staff are concerned that the organisation is in effect being held to ransom. The deal seems to be that in return for some movement on funding, RTE must cut its workforce by 1/5 and outsource a significant proportion of the work currently done in-house by people in proper jobs to the private sector. 400 jobs are to be suppressed. That's 400 fewer full-time jobs in this wider creative sector for the future, for young people coming out of college, for example. We are concerned that those jobs will be replaced by mostly precarious short-term contracts in the private sector, where workers move from short-term contract to short-term contract with no right to things like pensions or holiday pay or maternity leave. This is an environment that especially damages women. We're fully supportive of a thriving, growing independent sector, but we do not believe that this should be achieved at the expense of jobs in RTE. None of the governance failings or disgraceful excesses at RTE exposed since the summer had anything to do with the size of RTE or with us, its ordinary staff. The NUJ fears that this crisis is being used to drive through an entirely different agenda, the privatisation of large swathes of RTE, and this is something that we will oppose. The use of bogus self-employment contracts is a stain on RTE's reputation. The systematic misclassification of workers was an attempt to keep staff's costs down, denying workers fundamental rights. While trade unions have sought an industrial relations solution to the issue of bogus self-employment, there are workers in RTE who are being forced to pursue legal options in the face of an obstinate employer. And looking to the future and the new strategic plan, and despite all the debate over the summer, we now look at the prospect of RTE being driven further into the arms of the commercial sector, being forced to move further down the road of becoming a commissioning house. We feel we've learned nothing from Dee Forbes's first folly when she shut down young people's programmes and outsourced the creation of all programming for young people. Under the new DG, we see plans to dismantle a further 1/5 of the organisation, via the replacement of content currently made in-house with material sourced from the private commercial sector. And we believe that this is sending RTE further down the wrong road. Thank you, Corry.